Okay, well, hello everyone. We think there are hundreds of people out there listening to me speak right now, so welcome everybody to the Google Hangout about the Great Barrier Reef. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes together talking about the reef and in the context of the election coming up, which gives us an amazing opportunity to get big protections for it. But first of all, I just wanted to, apart from welcoming you all, to introduce the team of people we've got here tonight. So, first of all, it's myself. My name's Imogen. I'm the campaign director for the Reef campaign for the Australian Marine Conservation Society. And I'm getting very bad feedback here, but I'll keep going. The next person I wanted to introduce is Charlie, Dr Charlie Veron. He was a former chief scientist of the Australian Marine Australian Institute of Marine Science. I'm going to plow on with very bad feedback. And he has been likened by none other than David Attenborough to a modern-day Charles Darwin. So it's incredible that we've got Charlie with us tonight. He's discovered 20% of the world's coral species. So he's a phenomenal contributor to coral reef conservation around the world. I've also got with me tonight Owen from WWF. He's down in Sydney joining us. And Owen is a brilliant comms guru and wizard from WWF, and he did a lot of our political communications work for the campaign. We work very closely with ANCS and WWF.
Okay, I've got you back.
Right next to me on my left, I'm Shannon, who is a community campaigner with the Australian Marine Conservation Society and based in Brisbane, does a lot of outreach work here. So again, we're very, very lucky to have all of us here tonight together. And I just thought I'd run through very quickly with you what we're going to do tonight. First of all, I'm just going to give a brief outline of the campaign, and then we'll go straight to Charlie. I'm going to ask Charlie some questions about his experience working on the Sir David Attenborough series. It's just been on TV. And next, we'll then go to Owen. Owen's going to give a bit of an outline of our election strategy. And then I'll move to Shannon, and she's going to talk about how you can all get involved. And then finally, we'll open it up to questions. And we'd love to hear from you. We will not be able to answer all your questions, but we've got 10 or 15 minutes, depending how fast. That will wrap up at 7 o'clock. All right, so I am going to start. Sorry, I'm getting feedback again. I'm going to ask Charlie some initial questions about your experience, Charlie, when you were involved in making the Great Barrier Reef series with Sir David. Can you tell us what it was like to be working with David? Your experience, Charlie, when you were involved in making the Great Barrier Reef series with David. We're hoping that Charlie is still there. We know he's online there somewhere.
Okay, then I'm back. Right, I'm up now.
Charlie is still there. We know he's online there somewhere.
Okay, then I'm back.
Hi, Charlie. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to work with Sir David Attenborough on his reef series?
Well, I feel very relaxed with it because I wrote a book called A Reef in Time, The Great Barrier Reef from Beginning to End. And the Royal Society in London wanted to have an emergency meeting to discuss the book. And they had David Attenborough chair it. So I was on stage with him for just over 3 hours. I gave my talk, and there were 2 hours of questions until the Master of Ceremony closed it down. So in that time, and also he chaired a meeting before that where I was arguing with climatologists and other reef scientists about levels of carbon dioxide. And poor David, he was over 80 then, and he chaired the whole thing. So when it was due for him to come to Australia, I invited him out to my house, and there he met up with the production team over dinner at my place in my terrace, which was nice, and we had a catch-up. So I got to know him pretty well. And then down at Heron Island, I was there for, I think, 4 or 5 days with him, and he's a good person to be with. I really like the guy. So he doesn't have email, so I don't have much direct contact with him. And but I do know his daughter, Susan, and it was very good to have her along also. So I found that the third episode, warning Australians that the Great Barrier Reef was in danger, was very much to the point, and it was good to hear him give that message, which I hope our political leaders, if you can call them that, will heed. So that's my part with David Attenborough. Even before that, I was an advisor on many films that he made about life on Earth and so on. That was a pleasure. Now, okay, have I got you, and did you get that? I am going to Imogen, I can't.
It's the worst global bleaching event in the world's history, and the worst in the Great Barrier Reef. I think we've got Charlie back again.
Yeah, I'm back on again.
Global. Okay. Charlie, I'm going to ask you if you could talk a little bit about the current coral bleaching event in the world. How bad is it?
I'm finding it pretty hard to understand. I think you asked me about the bleaching in the corals.
I'm going to ask you if you could talk a little bit about the current coral bleaching event in the world. How bad is it?
It's pretty bad. I'll talk about bleaching in the corals. This year's bleaching was incredibly predictable, and in fact, I gave an interview for the ABC saying this would happen. And then this year's bleaching was incredibly predictable, and in fact, I gave an interview for the ABC saying this would happen. Yes, so the issue is that now I have a very good computer program which will predict bleaching, and they did predict this El Nino cycle that we've been in, and so they've been shown to be right. But the central issue is that it could have been much worse than it was, because the El Nino cycle backed off at the beginning of this year, around January, February, and Queensland entered a normal wet season weather pattern. If it hadn't been for that change and normalizing the normal weather pattern, I think it's very likely that the entire Great Barrier Reef would have been bleached, the same as the northern part. So, although it's been a terrible thing to have happened, it's nowhere near as bad as it could have been. Which is a bit of a sobering thought, because it's going to happen again, maybe next year, maybe even 5 years' time, but it will happen again.
Do you think that the corals in the northern third of the Great Barrier Reef, which have been so severely bleached, will recover in the next decade, or will it take longer than that? Okay, I think we might have a problem connecting with Charlie right now. So what I'm going to do, we might go back to Charlie when he's back on again. I'm going to just speak very briefly about a trip that I just made up there. I went up to Port Douglas and went out to a beautiful reef called Agincourt. It's about an hour north of Port Douglas.
An extinction event which could be incredibly serious for all humanity. So I don't know if you can hear any of this. I can't hear you, and most of the time I can't see you, but I can see that you've probably got my photograph for what it's worth on the website, on your program.
Yeah,
so,
we are having difficulty.
Oh dear, trouble with hearing. Okay, I think I could hear a little bit now.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is just move on and maybe come back to you when we've got more questions coming from people at the end.
Okay.
So
yep,
I think.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. So I was just saying that I had the amazing opportunity to go up to a reef called Agincourt Reef. It's a very popular tourist reef. It's about an hour's boat trip north of Port Douglas. And we had been told that that reef was in a fairly good condition. When I got there, it was anything but. It was really shocking. I got into the water and swam over to the reef flat, and for as far as my eye could see, it was just bleached coral. It was really shocking. Staghorn coral that was just dead. So it was pretty devastating. It was also quite frightening, actually, because this is the kind of thing you think will happen in the future, and it was happening right now. So it just really fueled in me the need to make sure that we use this election to get the best possible policies out of the major parties, because we just don't have any time to waste anymore. It's really, we've come to crunch point on global warming. So it was a classic wake-up call if we ever needed. We've woken up many times after this issue, but seeing it white was certainly something very vivid and very real. So I'm just going to very, very briefly talk about what we need to get out of the major parties. We have a very well-developed campaign plan. We want to get very strong climate and energy policies out of the major parties. We want 100% renewables by 2035. We want no more coal mines opened, and a plan to actually phase out the extraction of coal and gas. We want no more fossil fuel subsidies, no more subsidies for coal or gas. The government is spending at least $7 billion of taxpayers' money every year on that. It's ridiculous, and it needs to be channeled into positive things like fighting for improved water quality on the reef. And we want an orderly phase out of coal-fired power stations. They're just an era, you know, they're the technology from a bygone era, and we just need to kind of phase them Those are our climate policies that we're pushing for. We're also wanting to get clean water on the reef. The pollution coming off the catchment is quite severe all the way along the catchment, particularly from cane farms. And that's leading to lots of plankton growth in the reef's waters, which is fueling major population booms of a coral-eating starfish called the crown-of-thorns starfish. And that's in plague proportions, and it's eating massive amounts of coral as it sweeps down the reef from Port Douglas south, a bit like a locust plague. So what we're trying to do is stem that pollution coming from the catchment. We need regulations from the federal government, new laws, and we need multi-billion-dollar investment package to restore all the wetlands, the riparian forests, and make the catchment healthy again and give the reef clean water. So that, in essence, is what we're fighting for. As well as those policy objectives, we've also got a strong community and outreach campaign, because ultimately it's going to come down to votes on election day, and so we're out there in the community. But I'm going to now throw over to Owen, who's going to talk about our election strategy in a bit more detail. So Owen, over to you in Sydney.
Hi guys, thank you very much, Imogen. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was just timing. So we know that the budget's due next Tuesday, and we know that the Prime Minister's announced he intends to call an election for July 2. The only time that he can do that is kind of after the budget and before 11th of May. So sometime late next week, we expect him to go to the governor and have the writs issued for a federal election. And then from the day that that happens, I mean, we've kind of already started, but formally from the day that that happens, we'll be pursuing all of the political parties with a series of 6 asks for the reef. And we'll be doing it in a couple of ways, but the major pieces are that at the very end of the campaign, so kind of between 10 days and a week out from election day, we'll release a scorecard that assesses how each of the parties' promises stack up on the 6 issues that we think they need to deliver on in order to protect the reef. So those are flowing in, a multi-billion-dollar fund for farm management, a strong champion for the reef, that's a really important one, no more damaging industrial developments on the reef coast, an end to illegal fishing, and a rapid shift to renewable energy and an end to fossil fuel subsidies. So those 6 asks at the end of the campaign, the parties on what they announce over the next 7 weeks. And what we hope is that by showing the parties that we'll be assessing them at the end of the campaign, we create a bit of a race to the top amongst those policies. So we'll be expecting announcements to come from both parties on when they do. We'll write it down and we'll score and say that is a step in the right direction, or it's not going to be efficient. What we're going to be asking all our supporters to do is fill out a policy card with their details, and it's a kind of a postcard on one side and then a set of the information that we're checking the parties on the other. And we'll send that to your local MP for you, either in a hard copy, so we'll have actual postcards being handed out by wonderful AMCS volunteers all around the country. And they'll be getting details from supporters who want to put pressure on their local MP to deliver on those reef promises. Then we'll through to the parties and we'll say, look guys, these are the hundreds of thousands of people who are asking you to take action on these 6 reef policies, and you've got to do it before election day. The other thing that we'll do is an online version of that, so people who can't get out and get those hard copy cards will be able to log on to our website and to send an email to their local candidates saying, these are the 6 things I need your party to commit to for the reef. Email to your local candidate. So we'll do that for the next 7 weeks. We'll chase them. We've got a series of other tactics in mind as well. We've got certainly some news stories that we expect the media will want to cover. We've got some online tactics that we want to try as well, so some images and videos that we want to share. to really put the pressure on all sides of politics to come up with good promises and a race to the top on those 6 issues. And then at the end, we'll score them, and then we'll hand out that scorecard to everyone who's participated in the campaign, and we'll be able to show them what impact they've made, good promises for the reef, and which parties haven't. And so that's the crux of our election campaign. And look, the only other thing I'd like to say is to kind of ask everyone who's listening on the call, if you have the chance, please pick up the phone to your local candidates and tell them that you really care about the Great Barrier Reef and that you want to know what they're going to do to protect it if they manage to form government. I might hand back to Imogen and Shannon.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Owen. That was a great wrap of our strategy. And I'm now going to hand over to Shannon, sitting right next to me, who will be able to give you more of an in-depth feel for how you can get involved in the campaign.
Hey, everyone. So, first of all, I just wanted to apologise for all the technical issues we have faced tonight. So, I think we're good now, so hopefully you're still all enjoying the show. So, first of all, I just wanted to say that now that we've heard from Owen and Imogen about what we're actually trying to achieve, really this next part is about how we're going to get there and what you can actually do to be involved, because now this is where you guys come in, okay? So we need to get as many of us as possible to take simple and small actions, because these all add up and really make a big difference. So before I go into those actions, I just wanted to recognise the importance of the power of our voice and taking action, okay? And this was a really good demonstration at last year's Queensland election, last Queensland election, because we made some big changes. We had some massive wins for the reef, the first Great Barrier Reef minister, and we stopped a lot of port developments from going ahead to protect the reef. So that's just really want to start there on a positive note for what we have achieved, and we just have to keep going. So tonight, one really important action that everyone here can take is to email your local MP. And to help you do this, we've actually set up on our Fight for the Reef website that you can just go online, put in your postcode, and it will come up with your local MP, and it actually has an email ready to go with our 6 policy asks that Owen mentioned earlier, and this really sends a strong message to local MPs and politicians that there is so many people out there that care for the reef and demand better protection. So we also will be following up with an email afterwards with the links to our website. But for those of you who are really keen beans and want to get on there tonight, our website is fightforthereef.org.au/insider. Okay, and that's where you can go to email your MP straight away. The other thing I just wanted to mention that is really important is that we need to keep having conversations about the reef. Okay, and this cannot be underestimated. Okay, so talking through the issues about the reef and encouraging others to also take action, such as emailing your MP and encouraging others to use their vote to make a difference for the reef and for our environment is really, really important. So I cannot underestimate that. So have phone calls with your friends, family, work colleagues, work acquaintances, and really just keep the ball rolling with this, because it's something that we definitely cannot be silent on. So the other thing I just wanted to mention too, as a follow-up from Owen's phone conversation, was about the vote cards. Okay, and this is something that everyone can get involved in signing, and these vote cards actually get hand-delivered to relevant politicians in areas that we are working in, particularly in Queensland. And these do help to make a really, really big difference too. So those are just some of the things that you can help with on the ground straight away, and you can do from home. I just wanted to also let you know that you can keep an eye out for our future emails, as we will be sending out with more updates and upcoming events, because we are working on the ground in certain areas in Queensland, and specifically southeast Queensland and in the Whitsundays. So if anyone is also interested in getting involved on the ground and wants to do more, please contact us. and we will have contact details in our follow-up email as well for everyone who has joined the call here today. We will be hitting the streets, dressing up in Nemo costume, having meetings with our MP, and getting on the ground and just really talking to people about the issue to really make a difference. So please keep posted on how you can get involved. And I also just wanted to mention we do have volunteer teams in different areas around Australia, specifically Victoria and Sydney and in Queensland on the East Coast. So if anyone is in those areas, please get in contact and tell us how you want to help, and we can definitely support you on that. But it's really important to realise that no matter where you are in the country, you can help out, whether it's sending an email to your MP, meeting up with your local candidate, encouraging others to also take action. So I really just wanted to finish that little spiel there on a positive note to say how far we have come, and that really we just need to do this all again, because the federal election this year is a really important time for us to all be involved, and it's where we can make a big difference. So now is the time to act. So, okay, that rolls the end of my spiel there. So now I thought we'd put it out to the audience, which is you guys, that have had some questions that you want desperately answered. So first of all, I just wanted to, when everyone RSVP, there was some questions that came through, so I just wanted to address one of those now, which is from a Jill Fechner, and her question is it already too late? So I thought, Charlie, this might be a good one for you to answer.
Oh, that's not something I like to answer, because hope's very, very important, and so I'm better off just shutting up. I feel that round about the mid-1990s it would have been fine. We could have gone ahead, done what needed to be done, and all would be well today. But because of the slow recognition of climate change, I'm afraid the Great Barrier Reef is staring down the barrel of a very big gun, and I think there will be a race between the reef and me to see who kicks the bucket first. It's a pretty dire and tragic set of circumstances, but that's just a personal view, and I really think that what we've got to do is to give technology the best chance that it can give us to come to the rescue of the whole planet, not just the coral reefs. So it's incredibly serious, but trying to get a politician to understand it is a very tough thing to do.
And Charlie, you
now,
were
I'm not sure if
talking to politicians.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I have to say, I think Greg Hunt is one of the most ill-informed people I've ever connected with in this regard. He seems to, he's got a 2050 plan, and isn't that good enough?
What happened there? Oops, I think we've lost Charlie again. Sorry.
Did you want to finish that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was with Charlie when we were down in Canberra, and with a tourism operator from the Whitsundays as well, and we talked to a lot of people there. It's challenging, to put it mildly, to feel that your message is really being taken seriously. However, I do want to just give one note of hope. Today,
Australians for all humanity. Is that coming through? I don't know.
It's okay, Charlie. Imogen's finishing.
Yeah. We missed you there, so I just kind of filled in the blank, Charlie. But I just wanted to say that today the Labor Party actually released their climate and energy policy, and it's certainly a step forward. It's not what we are pushing for, but it is a huge step forward from where we are right now with the current government. You can find it if you Google on the internet. It'll be all over the media. They're promising to bring back a system for moving Australia onto a more, clean energy footing, and you know, we just need to keep pushing. We need to keep pushing so that the bar is lifted even higher than what was announced today. But it's certainly really starting that race to the top that Owen was talking about a few minutes ago.
Great, thanks Imogen and Charlie. So I just wanted to let everyone know that you can actually ask a question for our panel tonight, and how you do that is on the right-hand side of the YouTube page. There's a live chat happening, and you can actually type in questions here. So I just welcome that if anyone does have a question, if you could please type that in now, and we can get that answered for you. In the meantime, while you're typing any questions, I just wanted to put another question to our panel, which is by Sian MacArthur, and they ask, what is the single most effective thing that we can do right now? So I might take the liberty of answering that question. So it's a really great question, and I really think that there is a lot of multiple things that we can all do, okay, to be involved. And I think it really, we just need to have a think about what is our passion and what are we good at. So, you know, if that is talking to people about the issue and encouraging action, that is a really good step to take. If you have an interest in having a meeting with your MP, please take the initiative and make a meeting and tell them how you feel and what you want to see being implemented with policies. You know, if it's, you know, doing your bit by emailing your MP and encouraging others to also do so, please consider that. There is just a number of things that we can all do, and I don't think there's one single thing. I think that it really is a mixture, and all the different actions that we do take, whether it's on social media, sharing posts, or taking the actions which I just mentioned, they all add up. So please take that into consideration when you are thinking about doing something. All right, so let's just check if we've had any more questions. I can't seem to see any more questions here.
Owen, did you want to add to what Shannon was just saying?
Yeah, I guess I just add that don't give up on the political process, no matter how much it is. The kind of people in the Fight for the Reef campaign, and I'm talking to the people who are watching this video, have achieved so much in the last few years that I don't think anyone can say it's not working. Certainly we face a huge challenge, an enormous challenge, and sometimes it feels like we're not being listened to, but the things that we have achieved are certainly to keep going. And so if you have the tiniest bit of time this election to make a phone call to your local candidate and say, I just want to let you know that I really care about the reef and I want to know what your party is going to do to ensure it's protected, that action alone can have huge repercussions, because if they're the kind of candidate who really wants to win their seat, they'll be asking the leaders in their party to make sure that they take strong action, because they'll know that voters are asking for it. So that would be my advice.
Thanks, Owen.
Thanks, Owen. So we also have a question from Fee King. Thank you, Fee. Is it worthwhile to try and get reef tourism to publicly support new mines and clean energy and reef protection? Imogen, did you want to answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's exactly what they're doing at the moment. We have a community organiser working up in the Whitsundays. Her name is Cherry, and she's got fantastic networks with the tourism industry there. More tourists are going to the reef now through the Whitsundays than even Cairns. So it's a really important area to be networking with. And a lot of tourism operators are really coming on board. There's no doubt that the current severe bleaching event has made that happen. But also, I think, just the change in the politics. The reality is now that coal is not the king coal that it used to be. In Australia, people are really realising we've got to move away from it, and we've got to move away really fast. And so I think the tourism industry is starting to really get on board with that. and make their voices heard. Not so much in Cairns yet. It's still very much potent around the Whitsundays, but our goal is to try to get Cairns to change too. And once we have those really big, two big tourism communities, that will be a really, really powerful voice. There are 70,000 jobs that depend on a healthy reef all the way up and down the Queensland coastline, and we know that all the way up and down the Queensland coastline there's marginal seats, and they're very powerful in elections. We know that this federal election is going to be determined to a large extent by Queensland. So, you know, people have tremendous power, as Owen and Shannon were saying, and there's no more powerful time to exercise that power, to mobilise and make your voice heard than in the election. And I think that's what the tourism operators in the Sundays are doing.
Great. Okay, so we have another question from Liz Downs. It's about election strategy. How can we make this a big issue? Okay. Owen, did you want to answer that one?
The question, sorry, just so I'm clear, the question was how can we make this a big issue?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to take every opportunity you can to make sure that this is in the news and in the minds of all of the candidates in your area. So I would do three things. The first thing I'd do is write a letter to the editor of your local paper saying that you're really excited to hear what the parties will announce in the coming weeks for how they're going to protect the reef. Because one thing I can tell you for sure is that candidates who are running for election read their local paper religiously, because it's a great way of finding out what local people are thinking about and are curious about. So that would be number one. Number two would be to email or phone the candidates in your area and ask them for a meeting. Even better, get a mate to go with you, because when there's a couple of you, it's much harder for them to say no to a meeting. And then say to them that you're passionate, you're concerned about the reef, and you want to know what they're going to do to protect it. And you can use the information from our website to kind of help inform that conversation. We've got really clear kind of lines on what we think the best steps we could take to protect the reef would be. And then the third thing I guess you could do is to get your friends together and just kind of talk with them about the Great Barrier Reef, ask them what memories are about it and what kind of future they want for it, and then ask them to take those actions as well. So start a conversation about the reef, think about, you know, how can we make sure that it's there for our kids and theirs, and then get your friends active and talking to people about it as well, and dropping those messages into the newsfeed.
Great, thanks, Owen. We've had another question from Jennifer Jones, and this one might be for you, Charlie. Is it true that while the northern reef is suffering from bleaching, the southern half is increasing in area? And what effects will that have on the reef's diversity?
The southern Great Barrier didn't get out of it at all. Bleaching is when the coral's actually dying of an illness. That illness affected the entire Great Barrier Reef, all the corals in it, and elsewhere. So just because the coral in areas where there was little or no bleaching doesn't mean it's all healthy. Rather the opposite. The whole of the Great Barrier Reef has been affected, and it's just the northern part that is actually dying. So the whole year.
Cool. And Charlie, this one also might be a good one for you to answer. So Tim Coatman is asking, how does this bleaching event that we are currently experiencing compare in its severity to that experienced in 1998? Oh, Charlie's back. Charlie, did you hear that question?
No, I didn't hear that. I've got you back now. Can I have it again?
Yep. So hang on, I've lost the. Okay, so Tim Coatman is asking, how does this bleaching event that we're experiencing now compare in its severity to that experience in 98?
It's worse than that. We have a much higher proportion of reefs have bleached, and it is the worst bleaching ever in history. So it's not only the Great Barrier Reef, though; it's the entire Indo-Pacific, right across the Indian Ocean, but almost all the Pacific, and that's the Northern Hemisphere as well, has really copped it this year because of the El Nino cycle that's kicked in. El Nino cycles normally kick in every 3 to 7 years. We've had a long period without one, and so now it's really come as a big whammy. Right. Does that answer the question, or can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Thanks, Charlie. I think we have time for one more.
Sure. So Alex Thornton, thanks Alex for your question, is asking, what can we do as a citizen scientist to help save the reef? It's hard not to feel helpless on this topic, but he cares so much. And I just wanted to end this on a positive note, because I really believe that if we all work together, that we can achieve great things. And we've seen that in the past. You know, if we were to have left the Great Barrier Reef open to limestone mining back in the day, what would the conditions be like now on the reef? So I really think that by all working together, if we all do these simple actions and encourage others to do the same, that we can really protect our reef and give it the best chance it needs to survive.
Well, thanks, Shannon. That's a fantastic note to finish on. One of my favourite phrases is actually by Nelson Mandela: "It always seems impossible until it's done," which I think sums up this campaign in the last few years, when it faced, at the start, a mining industry, a coal industry that just seemed insurmountable and invulnerable. And yet, several years later, 3 years later, there's been this enormous victory. No more industrial coal ports allowed to be built in the natural coastline, and a ban on dumping of dredged soil. It's an incredible thing, and now we're seeing the coal industry in terminal decline. So, you know, huge change can happen. We've just got to believe it's possible, and that's what this campaign is founded on. I wanted to thank the participants in this, Shannon to my left, Charlie, and Owen. Thanks so much for coming online and being part of this, and Shannon for organising it. But thank you so much to all of you who are out there listening to it, and again, apologise for the technical difficulties we had, particularly at the beginning. Please go to the website. Shannon, did you want to just mention that again?
So our website, once again, is fightforthereef.org.au/insider.
And you'll see there an email action you can take. That's just one of several actions that have been talked about on this call by Shannon and Owen. Emailing, ringing, writing letters to the editor, talking to your friends, mobilising, organising, getting active, and getting those politicians who are vulnerable right now to all of us to do the right thing, to put the reef at the top of their list and vote for the reef. We're going to save it this election. Absolutely determined to do that. So thank you all for being here, and onwards.
And also, just to mention too, this video, you can watch it at a later date and share it with people also.
Okay, good night everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.